We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Smash the like button. If you like our content, share the video with your family and friends. And if you want to donate to the show, support the show through a super chat donation, hit the $sign where the comment section is. Put in a comment. We'll get to us as fast as we possibly can. Welcome into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend with your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. I am all fired up. Tomorrow night, Michigan, Washington for the national championship. The Michigan Wolverines and the Washington Huskies. Holy smokes. We're going to be doing a preview. I'm just going to be doing a small monologue here. We've been talking about these two teams forever, all year long. I predicted Washington to get into the college football playoffs. I predicted they'd win the Pac-12 championship, which they did. They got into the college football playoffs, which they did. I did not think Michigan was going to get there because I thought the last 2 years, heartbreaking defeat last year, would break them for this year. It did not break them. It made them stronger. And I predicted Michigan was going to win it all right after the college conference championship games. Do I still hold that same conviction? And if I do Do I believe Michigan is going to cover the 4.5-point spread? You're not looking at Greg the Cooler anymore. 2022 is over. 2023 is over. This is 2024. Wake up, PATC community. Wake up. The fat guy from Minnesota is 2-0 against the spread. And I'm about to go 3-0 against the spread. I feel it. I am on a heater. Greg the Heater, let's get it going. Speaking of fat guy from Minnesota, before we get to your comments, and we're going to get to your phone calls early, we're primarily talking about Washington and Michigan, but when you call in or in the chat, you can talk about anything you want to talk about. Next week is going to be a very busy week in college football. Not just, of course, the championship game Monday night, but we have the convention. There's going to be a lot of news trickling out of that convention. And it is going to have a ripple effect. It already has. We'll talk about it on this live show. They're talking about Charlie Baker's proposal. We're going to get news right away this week, Wednesday. So buckle up, everybody. And all eyes on Clemson. All eyes on Clemson. Now, next week is not the third week of January. It's not the fourth week of January. As we were told a couple months ago, Clemson's going to declare something in the third week of January, fourth week of January, or the first week in February. We reported to you all, I think it's about 3 months ago now, at least 2 months ago. There's no change in what we're being told. So buckle up, brace for impact. It's going to be a busy January. And tomorrow night, the 2023 season finishes in the year 2024, Michigan versus Washington. Speaking of, we're going to talk about the Gophers. I know this is a national show. I get it. It is. I do talk about the Gophers from time to time. I have my watch parties about the Gopher football games. I have about 5 a year. Right? But I got to talk about the Gophers. First of all, Kyle Visser says, hola. Why are all the Golden Gophers leaving now? We just lost Logan Fife, the backup quarterback. We got him in the transfer portal. He was a starter for Fresno State. He just left today. He was in. He went to spring practices, bowl practices. He went to the bowl game. He's already triggered that mechanism where if you go to the bowl game, if you go to practice, or if you start going to classes, you are part of the roster as a transfer. He's already triggered that. But remember, there's no guardrails on transfers anymore. Logan Fife can go here, go there, go here, go there. There's no limitations. Not right now. So he's decided to leave. I don't know. Maybe he got a better offer. I have no idea. Now, it does seem, it was announced today that he's leaving in the portal. But then Ryan Burns of 247 Sports says, well, we might already, he laid a hint that there could be a portal, somebody coming from the portal into Minnesota. Like they already had it lined up. So I don't know what the story is, but Logan Fife is no longer QB number 2 for the Gophers next year. QB number 3 is going to be Drake Lindsay, the true freshman from Arkansas who won the Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Arkansas. True freshman. He's going to be QB3. QB1 is going to be Max Brosmer, the best FCS quarterback from last year. But who's going to be quarterback 2? We're going to find out possibly tonight. But the real couple other things I want to talk about the Gophers on. And then we'll get to national news. Michigan, Washington. Did you all see Did everybody see in the chat room? Did you watch? Did you watch the All-American high school game? Where all the best high school players playing football, East versus West? Did you watch that game? Did anybody see who was the MVP of that All-American game? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Do you know who was the MVP of the high school All-Stars in that game? Immaculate says, nope, don't watch high school ball. A little bitterness coming out. A little who was the MVP? I'll tell you who the MVP was. The man who started the game with an interception. The man who then blocked the punt. The man who stripped the ball for a fumble. The running back wasn't down, but they didn't reverse the call. The man who caught and tackled the number one high school player in the nation going to Ohio State, the wide receiver. He tripped him up. He tackled him at the 12-yard line on a kickoff return. The most valuable player in that game was Coy Perich, the man we've been talking about for the last couple months. From Minnesota, Elko, Minnesota. He's with Minnesota, starting with Minnesota next year as a true freshman. Ohio State tried to get him away from us at the last minute. He decided to stick with his commitment at Minnesota. He was the best player on that football field at the All-American game. Look out. Koa, K-O-I, Koa Perich, P-E-R-I-C-H. Remember the name. Remember the name. And also, people are talking about the offensive coordinator of South Dakota State. Sounds like he's going to be the new offensive coordinator at Northwestern. South Dakota State just defeated Montana 23-3. Congratulations to the Jackrabbits. You are the most dominant FCS program right now. Back-to-back national champions. Congratulations to South Dakota State Jackrabbits. Us Gopher fans, one more thing on the Gophers, then we'll stay away from the Gophers the rest of the evening. I promise. All eyes are on head coach Jimmy Rogers. Because, I don't know, there may be some steam. There may not be steam. I don't know. A lot of Gopher fans, boosters, people really want Jimmy Rogers to be the next defensive coordinator of Minnesota. Is that Jimmy Rogers is about making $300,000 a year? Would he take $1.2 million from Minnesota, what they were paying Joe Rossi, who just went to Michigan State? Or would Jimmy Rogers wait for a better job? Jimmy Rogers has been unbelievable defensive coordinator at South Dakota State. He's been there for 18 years. He's been a player. He was a co-defensive coordinator. He was a defensive coordinator. Now he's the head coach. He's going to go somewhere at some time. Now, at the end of that game, he was quite emotional after they won the championship game. He was crying. He's saying, I'm going to miss these guys. I've been here for 18 years. It sounded like he might be going somewhere. We don't know for sure. Could that be somewhere? Could that be in maroon and gold? We're going to find out. Hopefully it is. I have no confirmation on that whatsoever. But we're putting it out there tonight. We're hoping. We are hoping. Okay. Michigan, Washington, previews and predictions. I want to thank, before we get into it, I want to thank everybody. Great week for LSU. Yeah, they get the number one 2025 rated quarterback. Wow, big time. Big time for LSU. Chad Bracey, not quite first. Tim Bales, thanks for coming on in. Tyler Brown, Randy Taylor, Washington Huskies, Ted Evans. He's 25 hours away. Ted Evans, early peak member, part of the PATC community, is 25 hours, 26, whatever, hours away from Washington, Michigan. AMAC is in the house. Tyler Brown says, do not be afraid to be a legend. John Teal, early peak member, is in the house. NE says Oregon's taking Minnesota's safety after 1 year. I highly doubt it because I think they brought up the Brinks trucks for Mr. Perch. Plus, he's from Minnesota. Plus, the last two safeties, Antoine Winfield Jr. and Tyler Nubin, All-Americans, pretty good. Pretty good. Bob Husley, like a bad divorce, eventually you just settle to get the other party to go away. They're talking about Florida State and everything else that's going down in the ACC. Ryan Willie says Washington 38, Michigan 31. Steven says Washington 28, Michigan 24. Expedition Greg, an early sneak peek of the new Big Ten, a taste. Good point. Good point. Sergeant Pickles, again, he is 26 hours away. Washington versus Michigan. Evening all, win or lose, I expect the boys to leave it all on the field. That being said, 34-31, go Dogs. Marcus Williams, Michigan 41, Washington 27. Then we welcome them into the Big Ten. Go Blue, Marcus Williams. Go Blue, he's all over Michigan. Okay, let's, first of all, we're going to go with this line here. Washington plus 4.5, Michigan minus 4.5, over under 55. So we're going to take a poll. Let's start with taking a poll here. And as we always do, we list the team that is favored. We always list the team that is favored in the question. So we've been consistent all year long, just like we did last year. Does Michigan cover minus 4.5 point spread versus Washington? Yes, you've got Michigan covering the 4.5. No, you've got Washington covering the plus 4.5. Does Michigan cover minus 4.5 point spread versus Washington? Yes, Michigan covers. No, Washington covers. The voting begins now. The voting has begun. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Right now it's a landslide. Right now it's a landslide. The exit polling has one team way out in front. I'm going to give it a little bit more time. This is the most important game of the year. This is the most important PATC communities vote right now. This is for the big enchilada, a national championship. Even for the Blue Bloods, even for the helmet schools, national championships do not come around very often. I'm going to give it 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The votes are in. 78% says Washington. We have a landslide, ladies and gentlemen. 78% picks Washington. But, however, we're going to do another vote. Hint, hint. Wink, wink. Does over 55.5 total points total points cover? So if you say yes, you believe the total points scored in this game is going to be 56 or higher. If you vote no, you think the total points scored between Michigan and Washington, and that includes possible overtime, you believe it's going to be it's going to be 55 or lower. Yes, 56 and higher. No, 54 or lower. Start your vote beginning now. PATC Community. The PATC Community is voting once again with a strong voice going one way. Not quite like when they said Washington was going to cover. But this is also a pretty significant victory for right now. The over, I'm going to give it 10 more seconds. You got 10 more seconds to vote. Yes is 56 and above. Total points scored, Michigan, Washington, including potential overtime. 55 and lower is no. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 59% says yes. 59% says yes. So, the PATC Community, if you're looking at the screen, believes that Washington's going to cover plus 4.5, and it's also going to go over 55.5 points. Very, very interesting. Well, now it's time for my prediction. Craig the Heater, 2-0. First of all, I think the chalk, the heavy chalk with these lines is under 55.5 points. This game is going under. I cannot see it going over. It's not happening. Michael Penix Jr. was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant in the game against Texas. Michigan's going to be a whole different animal. And Michigan, I think they're going to find enough success on the ground where they're the big plays. I don't think Michigan's going to take the shots. I don't think they're going to take the shots. They're not going to need to take the shots. I think it's going to be a close game. I do think Michigan's going to win. I think they're the best team in the country. But I'm not taking Michigan minus 4.5. Not doing it. I'm also not taking Washington plus 4.5. I think the line is just about perfect. I think it's going to be a 4-point game, 5-point game. But the under 55.5, I think, is a lock. I think this is going to be more of a rock fight than a track meet. I see it happening. I see it going that way. Washington, they're going to be able to do some stuff, but it's not going to be consistent like it was in the Texas game and other games during the year. And Michigan, and with Dylan Johnson still more nicked up than ever, Michigan's going to be able to pin their ears back. For them, I hope they don't blitz as much as they usually do during the season, but they're going to go after Michael Penix Jr. No question about it. And those wide receivers are incredible. No question about it. But I think Michigan's going to get there. They're going to get home enough to keep Washington from lighting up the scoreboard. And I think Michigan's going to find enough success not to have to try to light up the scoreboard. 55.5 points. I don't see a bunch of turnovers in this game. I do not see a bunch of short yardage, short field situation. It's going to be mostly long drives. Both teams, if they go 3 and out, they're going to punt it. Or 6 and out, 7 and out, they're going to punt it. And I think this game is going under 55. I see a 24-20 game. 24-17 game. I do not see it going over 55.5 points. So that is Greg the Heater. Yes, I'm Greg the Heater for now. I'm 2-0. And I'm going to be 3-0 after tomorrow night. 3-0 after tomorrow night. It's going under 55.5. A Dog's Life in Portland. Thanks for picking Michigan. Guaranteed Huskies win. Any Michigan win will be tainted. Sergeant Pickles Huskies win close. Take some years off my life. This is the way. Good luck, Sergeant Pickles. Good luck, Ted. Ted Evans, who you will be singing Bow Down to Washington Monday Night Great. Okay, so I'm going to be singing Bow Down to Washington or Hail to the Victors after the end of the game. And then that's going to be the last time I sing one of those fight songs. I have sang both of those fight songs about 3 different times. That's fine, because both teams have had an incredible season, right? 14-0 in the championship game. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing a watch party. We're going to be starting the watch party 30 minutes before kickoff. So please join us here at Peek Around the Corner. Please join us. We're going to be doing a watch party. Going to have the old chalkboard scoreboard back here. It's going to be a lot of fun. Put down your comments about the game in real time as we watch it together. I'm not rooting for Washington. I'm not rooting for Michigan. I'm rooting for a good game. So I think we're going to get a good game. We're going to get a close game. I think Michigan's going to win, but I don't really have a good feel if it's going to be a touchdown or less. I can't take the play against the spread either way, but I'm definitely going under 55.5. Steven says Penix is the key. I see him delivering one more time, even against Michigan's mighty defense. Former Stanford E.J. Smith, son of Emmitt Smith, is transferring to Texas A&M. I have not been impressed with Emmitt Smith Jr. Hopefully he gets another shot. Hopefully he gets it done. A running back who I hope gets a real clear shot at getting the rock here in his final season next year in college ball is Darwin Barlow. I've been watching Darwin Barlow's college career. He was a great high school running back from Newton, Texas. He went to TCU. Newton, Texas is close to TCU. I thought he was going to be a star at TCU. Did not happen. He got nicked up. There was another guy who was rated higher than Darwin Barlow. So then Darwin Barlow went to USC. And he didn't get the rock there either. I think he was nicked up. I think he has a great yards per rush average, but he just can't seem to get a clear opportunity. Darwin Barlow. I believe he visited North Carolina this week. So hopefully, now I think Hampton, they're going to have returner RB1 coming back for the Tar Heels next year. But I'm hoping Darwin Barlow gets an opportunity to carry the rock for the Tar Heels if he commits at North Carolina. If he does. Rumor Jim Harbaugh could sign with the Chargers, the Bolts, as early as next week. Boy, it sure sounds like it, don't it? I mean, there's been no pushback. He's got the itch. He's got the itch. He's got that NFL itch. And once you have the NFL itch, these guys have to scratch it. It seems that they have to scratch it. If they have an opportunity to go into the NFL, or in Jim Harbaugh's case, to go back in the NFL, it seems like they have to scratch the itch. If I had to put my chips on the middle of the table, I would say he's going to the NFL. There's going to be more penalties at Michigan. There's going to be some sort of fine, possible scholarship restrictions at Michigan. They're not going to vacate the title. I strongly believe that's not going to happen. But they're going to be under penalty. Jim Harbaugh is going to be under penalty. He's going to be, and rightfully so, in my opinion. But they're not going to take if they win it, they're not going to take the title away. They don't do that anymore. They don't penalize the student athletes, the current student athletes. Unfortunately, they're going to penalize future Michigan teams, but they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to do it. Ted Evans, no prediction for me, just hope. Under, this is an Iowa playing. Be honest, Greg, you're rooting for the Huskies. I would love it if Washington won. It's a great story. Kalen DeBoer, great fan base. But I'm not going to be actively rooting for them. Not that it makes a difference. But in my watch parties, in the big games, I tend to root for David versus Goliath. But Washington isn't David here. Washington is great. Washington is right with Michigan. I understand the line, though, and I can't go either side of it. I think the line is perfect. I cannot make a pick. I think Michigan's going to win. I think they've got the edge. But I can't make a pick on the spread either way. I'm going under 55.5. I'm going under 55.5. And I'm going to the PATC Sportsbook. That's on the edge of Keith Jackson Parkway. Down at the end of Keith Jackson Parkway. I'm going to walk in to the PATC Sportsbook. I'm going to go to the betting window. And I'm going to make that machine run out of paper. It's going to go blur, blur, blur as I hit the button under 55.5, under 55.5, under 55.5, under 55.5. I am bullish on under 55.5. Okay. We can't vote for Washington sports here in Washington. We can't do anything in the state of Minnesota. We don't have any sports betting open. We have to go to Iowa. We're going to be the last state to vote for it. It's pathetic, but we're going to be the last state to vote for it. But in my imaginary PATC Sportsbook, at the end of Keith Jackson Parkway, one of the betting windows is going to run out of paper. Blur, blur, under 55.5. Anthony Palika, the playoffs this year were filled with 4 Titans. Truly enjoyable. It is. And I think next year, I know people are going to be going, we're going to get a blowout in the playoffs. We're going to get a couple of blowouts in the playoffs. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We're going to get blowouts. It's okay. Just the thought. Am I the only one so excited about this? Every week we're going to be analyzing the 12-team playoff race. We're going to be analyzing it. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. The whole season. I know the people said that the regular season was going to be less important during next year. It's going to be more important. More important. More teams are going to be in the mix. You can lose an early game. You can lose an early game and still be in the race to get to the playoffs. I'm all jacked up. I'm all jacked up for next year. I'm all jacked up for next week. Next week, we are going to learn so much. We're going to learn. We're going to get a good indication about Charlie Baker's proposals. We are 1, NIL. Number 2, the big one. Can universities create a trust fund to pay the student athletes called unlimited educational benefits? We're going to know. I think we're going to find out that that is going to become reality. It could become reality. Bad or good, wrong or right, or indifference. You shouldn't be indifferent about it. But anyways, it could become reality in August. The ramifications of that happening, the ripple effect is going to be mammoth in college football, but it's going to be huge in all sports across this country. Olympic sports, everything. Unlimited educational benefits. What are the Ivy League schools going to do? Are they going to go all in? Because they have a whole lot of money. How is those trust funds going to be built up? Trust fund, if this all happens, trust fund is going to be the word we're going to use every single day. We're going to be talking about Arkansas's trust fund, Kentucky's trust fund, Stanford's trust fund, Iowa's trust funds, SMU's trust funds. Collectives still could be, yes, collectives still could be there. Yes. But it's the trust funds, right? It's going to be, how do athletic departments build them up? What revenue streams will go into a trust fund? Who will decide who gets what? And then if that happens and that gets implemented in August, then you have January where they're going to be talking about the third part of Charlie Baker's proposal. The third part where you can opt in, opt out on a new structured subdivision where you have to say, look, we're going to use the trust fund, we're going to pay players, but they have to be at least $30,000 or more per year per student athletes for half of your scholarship student athletes. And if you do that, if you commit to it, and if you do it, you are part of this new subdivision where you're going to be in the room voting on particular changes of the rules and all that stuff. Even though you might be a school in a conference and where schools in that conference do not opt in. I think most FBS schools would do it. I think that's just going to be the next level of proposal number 3. It's an attachment basically to proposal number 2, the trust funds, unlimited, no cap, no salary cap, educational benefits to the student athletes. Okay, back to the comments. I see the little general is in the house. Holy smokes. The little general is in the house. Ryan Brooks, blowouts are fine. I don't want to watch rematches. You're going to get them. You're going to get them. We did, for fun, for a lot of you who probably watched episode 353 today. If you haven't, after the live show, go watch episode 353 that was dropped early this morning. We went through Brett McMurphy's way too early top 25. I'm going to post it up here real quick. We're going to get to your phone calls. I want you guys to start calling in tonight. Give me your predictions, your preview and prediction on the Michigan-Washington championship game. We went through this top 25 real quick. Way too early. Now, Brett McMurphy, like everybody else, when we come out with our way too early predictions, it's subject to changes because still we have the portal madness that is going on and everything else. But this was Brett McMurphy. We're going to go through it real quick. I really go into detail during the episode. So if you want to watch it with detail, go to episode 353. West Virginia, number 25. North Carolina State, number 24. Again, Action Network, Brett McMurphy. Number 23, the Kansas Jayhawks. Number 22, Miami Hurricanes. I do not agree with this. Right now, the quarterback is Ja'Cory Brown. They need a quarterback. They need to get one in the portal. Number 21, USC. I also did not agree with this. Tough schedule. I got to see it to believe it on defense. Number 21, USC. Number 20, Florida State Seminoles. Number 19, Utah Utes. I thought they should be higher in this poll. Number 18, Clemson. Number 17, Tennessee. That's exactly where I have Tennessee. Number 17, Washington. Number 16. Number 15, Oklahoma State Cowboys. Number 14, LSU Tigers. Number 13, Oklahoma Sooners. Number 12, Kansas State Wildcats. Number 11, Penn State Nittany Lions. Number 10, Missouri Tigers. Yes, Missouri. I have them going in my way crazy, way too early college football playoff prediction. I have Missouri going to the playoffs. They are loaded for bear next year. Ole Miss Rebels, number 9. Arizona Wildcats, number 8. And then when you break this down to the college football playoffs, Arizona would have the 4th seed because Arizona would be the 4th highest conference champion, ranked champion. So Arizona would get the 4th seed. Notre Dame's number 7. Texas, number 6. Buckeyes, number 5. I think they're going up in everybody's rankings, including mine. Jack Sawyer is coming back. They were able to get Will Howard in the portal. Alabama, number 4. Oregon Ducks, number 3 with Dylan Gabriel. Number 2, Michigan. Number 1, Georgia. Okay, so if you take those rankings and if you analyze it, let's just say magically saying that's how it would finish at the end of the season, you would have 5th place Oregon playing 12th place highest G5 conference champion. Brett McMurphy did not have a G5 champion, a G5 team ranked in his top 25. Number 6, Ohio State versus number 11, Penn State. And I believe they do play next year against each other. I do believe that's accurate. Number 7, Texas against number 10, Missouri. And number 8, Notre Dame versus number 9, Ole Miss. I do not know if Texas plays Missouri. But you're going to have conference foes playing against each other often in that first round of the playoffs, second round of the playoffs. We're going to see rematches. No question about it. We're going to see it. Okay. Marcus Williams. There will be a year when Michigan plays Ohio State back-to-back weeks. Then in the playoffs, possibly the Natty. They're always going to have Michigan and the Buckeyes. They're always going to have them ask the game. In 2024, it's November 30th. So what Marcus Williams is saying, they could be playing the game, and then they could be the top 2 finishes in the Big Ten. Then they'll be playing in the Big Ten championship game, and then they could be playing in the first round or second round. Probably one of those teams would get a bye, right? If that was the scenario. But that is possible, Marcus Williams. No question about it. They could be playing each other 3 times in 6 weeks. No question about it. Marcus Williams, thank you for your generosity to this program. Thank you so very much, sir. Great comment. Thank you so much. Let's see here. The NCAA convention begins Wednesday. It's going to be a big day, and it's going to be a busy week this week. Maria, did you get honey? I don't think she did. Mireya is rooting for the Washington Huskies. Does she say why in the chat? Because she did give me her reasons why. Jamie Thornton, yes, Mireya, you have great taste. You know who to pick. Go Huskies. Greg should listen to the little general. Mireya says, yes, Jamie. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Yes, FSU's ranked number 20. Yeah, I thought that was a little low. It should not be Florida State 20 and Miami 22. I do not agree with that. DJ Ungale versus Jakari Brown. Mike Norvell versus Mario Cristobal. I don't quite understand the juice the Hurricanes are getting. They need a quarterback in the portal. They keep swinging and missing. Maybe they get McLeod, the quarterback from James Madison. I know he's still in the portal. They need somebody. I would not have them ranked in the top 25. So winning twice doesn't matter if you don't win the third time in a 12-team playoff. Look, in the NFL, right? A team could beat one team twice in divisional play and then lose to that team in the playoffs. It's happened. It's happened in the NFL. It's probably going to happen in college football. Not as often. But yes. And I love every moment of it. Did Minnesota lose a quarterback? Yes, they did. They lost QB2. They got him in the portal. Logan Fife. And now he just left the portal. Now, right when he did that, Ryan Burns of 247 Sports, Minnesota 247 Sports. I used to be a contributor on there. He basically said we could be seeing quarterback portal commitment to Minnesota today, the same day that Logan Fife left. So I don't know what to read in all that. I'm going to leave that alone. But yes, they did lose a quarterback today. They're looking for a backup quarterback in the portal. They're looking for a young guy who's willing to learn everything, be the backup to Max Brosmer this year. Drake Lindsey's going to be quarterback number 3, the Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Arkansas. He's going to be a true freshman. The Gophers do not want Lindsey to be QB1 or QB2. It's got to find QB2. We might find him tonight. Maybe something happened. I don't know. But it sounds like the Gophers were prepared for Logan Fife leaving, but I do not know the reasons why. Yeah. And are we going to find out more about what Jamie Thornton and Immaculate are saying? Are we going to find out more about the great gold rush of 2026? The distribution. How much is SMU going to get? Doesn't look like they're going to get a full power economy 4 conference payout. Maybe there can be a compromise. They're not going to get the 1 million but they're not going to get the 6 million. They're not going to get a full freight like Cincinnati's going to get, like BYU's going to get, like UCF is going to get, like Houston is going to get. SMU is going to, sounds like they're going to take less than what the autonomy schools do with their base distribution payouts. We'll see what they get. And then there's going to be, we were honest on our last live show, we talked about it. The Great Gold Rush of 2026. There could be some autonomy for conferences pitted against each other. It could happen. SEC and the Big Ten might demand more money in distribution out of the big pot. Maybe not, maybe so. I think they're going to, but we're going to find out. The G5 schools are lifting the drawbridge. They really don't want any more FCS programs coming on in. If they come on in, if a G5 conference sees value, let's say in a North Dakota State or in a South Dakota State. North Dakota State, South Dakota State, if they want to join the new Mountain West, that creation that's going to happen, or they're going to capitulate and they're going to join the MAC conference or the AAC. If North Dakota State and South Dakota State do join and bump up into a G5 conference, they're going to have to pay $5 million, and they're probably going to have to take less or nothing when it comes to playoff distribution for the G5 schools. Everybody, I should say, nobody wants to take less. Nobody wants to take less. They don't want their pie to shrink. So the G5 schools are bringing up their drawbridge. The Autonomy 4 schools bringing up the drawbridge. We'll see what happens. Greg, I think quarterback Miami is bringing up Tagovailoa if he gets another year of eligibility. If he gets another year of eligibility. I think his waivers kind of... I think it's a little weak. I think I would guess he's not going to get it. Before I thought he would, but when I really read into it, I don't know. It's, I'm not sure. Can Miami wait on that? They're going to have to get somebody in before they get the man from Maryland, in my opinion. Let's not waste any more time on, let's open up the phone lines. The phone lines are now open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Michigan, Washington. This is it. The championship game. Both teams are 14-0. While I wait for a call, let's just pop up here. Michael Penix Jr. 4,648 yards. 66.7%. 163 average, 35 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 4,648 yards. Dylan Johnson, 1,100 yards, over 1,100 yards, 5.2 yards rushing, 16 touchdowns. In the red zone, he's an animal. He's also caught 22 balls out of the backfield, but he's all nicked up. He's injured. We saw it at the end of the Washington-Texas game. He re-injured, and I don't know how much of a factor he's going to be. They're going to give him the ball a few times, no doubt about it. But how much of a factor is he going to be? And then you have Polk, Ndunze, McMillan, Westover, Bernard. Holy smokes. Wide receivers, Bernard, Polk, and Dunze. McMillan's been nicked up, but those 4 wide receivers. And then you got Westover. I don't know what you call him. A tight end, halfback, H-back. Jack Westover. Getting it done. He had a good game in the semifinal. They are stacked, loaded up. Washington Huskies. They can score points with the best of them. Michigan. J.J. McCarthy. 73.2 completion percentage. 2,800 yards. Not the 4,600 yards of Michael Penix Jr. They asked him to do less. 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. A 170.1 rating. J.J. McCarthy with another great year. J.J. also ran for 171. Blake Corum, the best football player for Michigan. 1,100 yards, 4.7 yards per rush, and he's healthy. Last year, remember, he got injured before the playoffs. This year, he's not injured. 25 touchdowns. Blake Corum, 25 touchdowns. Donovan Edwards, disappointing year. No question about it. Cornelius Johnson, Roman Wilson, Colston Loveland. No, that's not what Washington has. Washington is on a whole different level. But those guys are going to have to make some plays. Roman Wilson made the play against Alabama. Fingertip catch.
Call from
Immaculate.
Mr. Hawkeye, Immaculate, thanks for the call, my brother. What is going on? What are you saying about Michigan, Washington, and everything else that's going on in the college football world? What's going on, sir?
Well, in terms of that game, I think we were talking about it in chat. I actually think Michigan's going to hold things up enough to where they don't score that many points. But I think Washington will win that game.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if there was any other quarterback in the entirety of college football, I think I'd take Michigan.
Yeah.
But it's not going to matter how good their defensive backs cover. Penix is going to make some plays. Like the guy, we've seen it over and over again. It really comes down to, I think Michigan has to slow the game down so much that it just kind of takes Washington out of the groove.
Yeah.
I think their best defense will be their offense just holding on to the ball. And then if they get them out of the groove, then maybe they can get some plays. Because we've seen at times during the year that Penix didn't look amazing. Now, there was that spring when he had, I think, the flu or something, and he still played, which is pretty impressive. But you can do that. You can take him out of his role. But if they allow Washington to just roll every time they come out there, and if they try to match wits with them, with passing and whatnot, that's not going to be a good game for Michigan. So we'll see on that. I tend to think I'm taking the under, but also Washington winning by like 7.
Okay, so I got the under, and I think Michigan's going to win, but I'm not touching that 4.5. Okay, sounds good.
In terms of the SMU thing you're talking about briefly, I kind of have a little different take on it than most.
Okay.
Granted, that it could, like you're saying, I could be on something or I could be onto something.
No,
like
you could be on something or you could be onto something. You got it correct. Yep.
The part that makes it weird, because it's pretty straightforward. They got to vote a team to get the higher payout. That's how it got set up. But they did it for 4. All 4 new programs going into the Big 12. No problem.
Yes,
they're only replacing 2. They're only replacing 2 programs, so they increased the amount of payout to the Big 12 by doing that. No problem. There was never a sound of any type of situation over that. Yet now, the ACC has this one questionable, and someone somebody is saying they won't vote for it. And it takes unanimous to get that. So,
Yes.
well, it could just be Sankey, or it could just be, whomever. But it kind of feels like they're being held for ransom. Like, because SMU is in a really interesting position where they agreed to cover all their costs.
Yes.
But that payout was expected to be part of what they would get. So by doing that, would the ACC now be kind of, we don't know all the details of the agreement. Maybe the ACC would now be obligated to make good on that. I don't know. That's a precedent-setting agreement, so we don't really know the details. And if anyone thinks that we do, I would just point out the ACC ESPN agreement and how for years we didn't know that there was an opt-out for ESPN. So I don't know.
What party?
Go ahead.
What party or person or conference or however you want to describe it, who is not for, do you think, or is playing hardball with this, wants to get into some negotiation, some compromise? Who is the party that is not wanting SMU at this point to get a full autonomy for share of the playoff distribution money?
I mean, if I was to go, throw the tin hat on and kind of go crazy with it,
I want you to.
I would say Big Ten or SEC wanting a low payout for FSU or for other schools, and saying because this probably happens eventually anyway, so it's actually more than SMU. They might have to pull up more AAC schools or whatever. So it's really not just a threat about SMU; it's a threat about the future too. Like everything that you might add, and it puts Oregon State and Washington State on a pedestal. Like you're also going to have to grab them because they already have the full payout.
I think they do for 24 and 25. Now, in that article, to be honest, Ross Dellinger did say that they thought that SMU would get the full share starting in 2026.
But they don't really know what 2026 is going to be.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I mean, it's okay, but they don't even have the beginnings of an agreement on what it's going to be. So, they might just have to carry on because this has taken so long to get started with it. I mean, by the time they start to get stuff figured out, they might just have to take 24 and 25 situation and push that on for a couple more years before they actually figure out what they're going to do in the end. But yeah, that to me, it's just because of what they did for the Big 12. Now I know this is different. This is, adding ahead of losses. So, they could say, well, you're just adding teams to add teams and we're not going to support that. Who knows? But to me, it was just a little weird. It was like, Big 12 just got 4 and they got their payout, and the ACC grabs 1 and they don't. So I don't know. Just a little interesting tidbit on that.
It is. Yep.
In terms of, what we were talking about in chat earlier, it's just kind of the divergence of ideas on what's actually coming about. Some people think like a breakaway, and I'm not really thinking that's happening, but that's because, I was paying attention in 2014 and those same conferences threatened to leave the NCAA at that time, and they got what they wanted for it. So I think the same kind of threat is what's going on now, but even more, because it leads me to believe they want something even bigger, whether it's like full governance for the autonomous conferences over Division I or whatever that might be. Or, with all these changes coming to the NCAA, who knows? That's why I say Wednesday, NCAA convention, and we should all be watching that closely.
Big day. Big day.
Yeah.
Big day. Yep.
And the thing is, I might end up eating words, and it might be the NCAA and do absolutely jack squat.
Yeah.
But I think they need to do something because they really can't. This is their last time before House versus NCAA.
Yeah.
So they need to get something going and something started and something figured out. Otherwise, they're all in big trouble if this just gets passed down the line. So we'll see. I I don't know. I think this is going to be a great game, but I think even more entertaining stuff is coming. At least from my perspective.
Yeah,
we'll see. But it's going to be a wild month, I think.
It's going to be a wild month, and it's going to be a wild next week, and it's going to be a wild month. So we are anticipating a wild month.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
All righty, man.
I think I might.
Yep.
We'll see. But anyways, I'm going on with Moen tonight. If you want to stop by and say hi.
Beautiful. Maybe I will.
No, he couldn't. He was going to come in, but he couldn't make it. He had something he had to take care of first. So
got it. I'll check in with the little general. What time you guys go live?
About an hour from now.
Got it. All right. I might send me a DM.
Okay, we'll do.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Immaculate.
Right,
Mr. Hawkeye. Mr.
night.
Hawkeye. So Immaculate believes Washington is going to win. He believes it, and he thinks it's going to be under 55.5. I think it's going under 55.5 as well. I think that's the lock of the night. If you are interested, we're going to be doing a live show. We're going to be doing a live watch party show tomorrow night. We're going to be watching the game. Everybody, you all watch it wherever you are, your tablet, your TV set, your phone. Watch it and then watch us at the same time. Put down your reactions, your comments, your emotions, same time. It's a lot of fun. We've been doing it all year. We did it all last year. We're going to do it all next year. Lots of fun. Daniel Montcastle, Mr. Hoosier is in the house. Washington 42, Michigan 23. Daniel thinks the Huskies ripped the top off of Michigan's defense. Very interesting. Now, Daniel, Michael Penix Jr., former Indiana Hoosiers quarterback who beat Michigan. Indiana and Michael Penix Jr. defeated Michigan. So Michael Penix Jr. has already done it one time. Maybe Daniel has, maybe he's thinking back to that and he's like, yeah, with these receivers of the Huskies, the Washington is going to roll over Michigan. Very interesting. By Mr. Montcastle, excuse me. Michigan hasn't played an offense like Washington's. Phone lines are open. Give us a call, 763-260-1333. We are going to be dropping, I think it's going to be between 8 and 9 in the morning Central Time, 9 and 10 Eastern Time tomorrow morning. We're going to be dropping early peak episode 14, Cloak and Dagger. We're going to be giving a little bit of information before we do it live, before we talk about it in the watch party tomorrow night. We're not going to be discussing it live tonight because this is Michigan's prediction, Michigan-Washington prediction and preview show. But tomorrow morning, for members only, college football's early peak, we're going to be dropping some information from a source, Cloak and Dagger style. So if you're interested in becoming an early peak member of college football's Peak Around the Corner, hit the join button, become a member. Appreciate it so very much. Marcus Williams is pushing back. Marcus Williams held to the victor. Ohio State's offense is just like Washington, so they have seen it. I don't know the wide receivers. I can understand that. The O-line is advantage Washington, and the quarterback is big-time advantage Washington. Michigan's going to have to bring it. but I think they are going to bring it. I really think they are going to bring it. You saw what Michigan did to Alabama, and they did not blitz, or they barely blitzed. It's what I wanted Michigan to do pregame. Don't blitz! And they didn't. They beat Alabama's offensive line. They brought everybody back. They sat in position, and they forced Milroe to go down the field 10, 12-yard drives, and they only could do it once all game. This is going to be a little different. You can't sit back against Michael Penix Jr. Michigan's going to be coming. They're going to be pinning their ears back. But I think they're going to find success in doing that because Washington's not going to be able to pop a run in there. Dylan Johnson's injured. Washington wide receivers, they're going to get open. They're going to get open. But I'm betting on Michigan's D-line to get there enough, get there early enough, hit Michael Penix Jr. a couple times. I don't think Michael Penix Jr. is going to walk into the locker room at halftime with a clean jersey. I don't think so. I think he's going to get hit some more. It's going to be a tight game. It's going to be a close game. But I don't think it's going to be a track meet. As stupid as that may sound, because everyone's watching Washington and Michael Penix Jr. do their thing. As we said at the start of the show, our prediction here, Greg the Heater, I'm 2-0 against the spread this year. We're going 3-0. We got under 55.5 for over-under, and I think it's going to be a great game. Down to Mountcastle, Washington 21-3. Now, Daniel, Mr. Hoosier, you weren't very optimistic about Michigan in that game against Alabama. And what happened, Daniel? What happened? Michigan came back. Michigan won. I think Daniel may be selling the Wolverines just a little short. Maybe because he's a Hoosier. He doesn't want Michigan to win. I don't blame him. I do not blame him a bit. Okay, let's get back to Ryan Willie, the evil Badger. In my opinion, I can't root for the cheaters. Daniel, look at Ohio State-Indiana game for evidence. Someone said B-Bean. B-Bean. Someone said the referee group for this game has a history of throwing a lot of flags.
Call from
JD.
JD is on the line. Can you hold 1 second, sir?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. Marcus Williams, thank you for the super chat. Once again, sir. Bro, 2021, 2022. Ohio State had C.J. Stroud, Harrison Jr., Oliver, Nick Jigba. They're better than Washington. We've seen it. And honestly, we're going to punish Washington. You know, that's a pretty, that's, I think Marcus Williams has set me straight on that. You are correct. Michigan has seen Washington's offense. Not this year, but the last two previous seasons, and Michigan has a lot of the same guys back on defense. Marcus, you are correct. You are correct. You did set me straight on that. No question about it. Excuse me. Thank you so very much, Marcus, for the super chat. You did set me straight. PATC Community is very, very smart. Now I'm looking for a counterpoint from Washington Husky fans, but Marcus is right. Michigan did battle a very elite Buckeyes offense the last 2 years, not so much this year. JD, Mr. Seminole, the floor is yours. How you doing, sir?
Good, sir. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm all jacked up for tomorrow night. So yeah, I'm all jacked up.
Oh, that's good. I've talked about it a little bit with a few people on social media the last couple of days, but the factor about tomorrow night's game that I hope isn't a factor is ACC refs. And I know it could be a little bit of sensationalizing in some people's eyes. I'm telling you, it's not. They are the worst. And they have some they have some tendencies, and I hope that in this one game they go away from those tendencies and they just let the kids play.
Okay.
Because they have decided games this year, not just one or two. They've decided at least a half a dozen games in the conference this year, and I just hope that doesn't become a factor, because I saw some things the other night watching both teams, and I'm like, that's a flag. That kid's going to get kicked out. That's going to be targeting on the ACC refs. There were things that Michigan did. There were things that Washington did that they're going to throw the kids out of the game. The ACC refs, to my knowledge, of the games that I've watched, they're the only ones that'll stop a play, or let's just say on a regular basis. And they'll do it at least 3 or 4 times a game. They'll stop a play for review that didn't receive a flag just to see if there was the possibility of targeting.
Okay.
I mean, literally, on average, or let's just say this: it's regularly that 2 to 3 kids a game will get kicked out of the game because of targeting. So, what they also do is, and it's not every single game, but it's not uncommon for each team to have at least one, if not multiple, kids kicked out for targeting. And the other thing that they do is, if one team is starting to pull, let's just say Washington has a great half and they just start pulling away from Michigan, okay?
Yeah.
The ACC refs have a tendency to try to level the playing field. They'll start judging Washington more harshly than they do Michigan. So the flags are very uneven.
Okay.
So I don't know. I know it may sound a little over the top by me saying this, that I hope they don't become flag. I'm dead serious. I would hate to bet any game that an ACC official, and there's certain crews, and I don't know which crew has the game. They've gone back statistically and figured, and there's 2 or 3 crews, like, for instance, whenever they officiate FSU games, they throw 75% more penalties, and this is before all this stuff going on last year or so.
Yeah.
So,
I've read a couple places that this crew throws a lot of flakes. So,
man,
yeah,
I can't. Like I said, I just hate it that I just hope they fashion themselves out of it like an SEC crew, because the SEC officials, for the most part, will just let the kids play.
Yeah.
And the worst thing you can usually say about SEC officials was they should have threw a flag where they didn't.
Yeah, they let the lines play a lot. So does the Big Ten.
Well, the ACC head of officiating, or let's say FSU, or let's just say ACC media in general, when they go to these, conferences, preseason conferences and ACC media days and so on, if they get to sit in with the ACC officiating, talk or whatever, they're literally told, the ACC officials, by their head of officiating, when in doubt, throw a flag.
Yeah.
If you think there's a possibility of a foul, throw a flag. But again, they do miss a lot of holdings. They do miss a lot of other things like every other official. So when I saw that the ACC officials had the game, I'm just like, man,
Yeah.
you just have no idea where that's going to go. But anyway, not trying to sound dramatic, but
No.
if you were an ACC fan or a fan of an ACC team, we all just kind of, grimaced when we saw that they were the ones going to be, officiating the game. And it's just like, oh man, here we go again. But what do you think? Is that, as far as FSU, do you think that's a pretty accurate Brett McMurphy's way too early preseason poll?
Boy, I don't know. I'd probably have them a little higher. Um, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I'm gonna have to. I want to put another one out. I don't have Florida State in my. Well, who did? Who did? You know what? I screwed up on my playoff thing. There is not. There, who was this highest ranked ACC champion? Clemson?
The highest ranked champion.
Highest ranked ACC team. He had Clemson, right?
For the preseason, yes, sir.
Yeah. So Clemson should be in the playoffs here. I see. I screwed up already. Anyways, I would have Florida State ranked ahead of Clemson.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could have Clemson ahead of Florida State.
I think
that makes no sense.
As of today, with the roster that we have today, without the additions that I think are coming, I'd put us 15. That's about where I'd put us. There's a couple of additions that I think that are going to be made. It's not unheard of we could be a top 10 team next year, but we could also be we could also be 23. I mean, there is just a huge variable there, but they were a little slow in the portal to start the portal season, but now and that was by design. They're picking up some really great additions in the last couple of days, and there's some rumors of some big time additions. And then Miami, it was rumored that Miami offered Tate Rodemaker, and Tate turned him down for Southern Miss.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what they're going to have to figure something out. Chikari Brown is not, unless he develops, he is not the guy. I'm not sure. I know they're looking at Tagovailoa, the Maryland quarterback, but that's a gamble. You can't wait for that development. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they get McLeod. McLeod is the quarterback from James Madison. He's still in the portal. I don't. And then they lost Colby Jones, and I'm not seeing it from Miami. And I'm not saying that because you're a Seminole, JD. You know I would, if I do not feel it from Miami at all.
Even though I don't have any love for Miami, I'm like you. I'll call it straight. No. They're going to be really solid on both lines of scrimmage. Mario does not have a good reputation as far as how he deals with quarterbacks. He just does not, and it's starting to catch up to him. And he really messed up Tyler Van Dyke, and he's messed up some other people.
Yeah.
He had Justin Herbert, and he underperformed when he was at Oregon. Granted they won the conference, but you had an all-star team, and by the standard of roster that he had, he underperformed, and so Miami, who knows? They could fool everybody, and they might win the conference next year. Who knows?
I don't know. I'm not a Ja'Carri Brown guy, though. I'll tell you that.
I'm not either.
I thought he was pretty loosey-goosey in that Rutgers game.
Yes, sir.
Anyways, but thank you, JD. I appreciate it. It's going to be a big week next week. Hopefully we hear more about the case in Tallahassee and Leon County. But maybe not. Maybe that's going to take a little bit more time.
Yeah, I don't know. One other thing I was going to leave with you. When you're talking about the unlimited educational, what was the phrase you used?
Unlimited educational benefits.
Yes, sir. There's no salary cap
Nope.
in college sports, but the collectives talk to each other. They're all getting into these associations and so on, and they know what everybody else is spending. So yes, there's no limit, but there'll be somewhat of a de facto salary cap. Now, you are going to have teams like Miami that overspend, and that's what they do. They overspend. You are going to have teams that if they really want a player like Nebraska with Raiola, they just threw all the money at the issue just to get a big-name quarterback for a boost in recruiting. You are going to have that. But in general, these collectives know how much a premier defensive end and how much a premier offensive tackle are going to run because they talk to each other.
But here's the deal. Here's the deal, though, on this. If it comes down, I think I have believed this for a long time. We talked about in episode 1 of this YouTube channel 2 years ago. This unlimited educational benefits. These trust funds that are going to be built. These trust funds are not going to be just like another offshoot of a collective, though. They're not going to be funded by just boosters. There's going to be all different type of revenue streams going in to the trust fund. We're not going to really know. I mean, I don't think it's going to be public where we know how big these trust funds are. Maybe we do find out. I'm not sure. But these trust funds are going to be funded by boosters. Could be tickets, part of it tickets, part of t-shirt sales, part of an endowment, part of some sort of fee from the college general fund. It could be all different things going in the trust fund to pay for the student athletes. So it's not going to be just collectives. So keep that in mind.
Yes, sir. I agree with that, and I think that's an important thing to take into consideration. There's that there'll be multiple ways to pay for it, but I think the market is just starting to determine what those values are.
Sure.
A lot of people,
Yeah.
a lot of people would assume, and I know you weren't insinuating this whatsoever. I'm saying that a lot of people are assuming that if Harvard, what's their endowment? It's several $1 billion that if they decided to get into, the whole NIL collective game, that they could just outpay everyone. Well, we can use the NFL as a guide on what athletes should make. And the NFL, is not going to pay a rookie quarterback $5 million.
The NFL has a salary cap, though. This is more like MLB. This is like Major League Baseball. So if Harvard wanted to become the Los Angeles Dodgers or the New York Yankees, they could. They won't, though. They don't have the will to do so.
Yes, sir.
They would have the flexibility if they wanted to. I do think, JD, there's going to be some college football programs that are going to have a bigger trust fund than there's going to be some surprises out there. There's going to be some universities that are going to open up the gates on the trust fund and how it can be funded differently than other schools. But the main, again, getting back to why Florida State wants to get into the Big Ten and the SEC, why USC went to the Big Ten, why Oklahoma and Texas went to the SEC, is the media money, right? The media dollars. The SEC, the Big Ten, part of that big media contract, there's going to be a slice of that going into each and every trust fund of those schools. That's reality. That's going to happen. That's going to be an automatic. That's going to be like the Big Ten saying to everybody, we want you to be competitive. This next big media deal in 2030, there's going to be 5%, 3%, whatever it is, going to each of these schools. It's going to go right into these schools' trust funds. We're going to see that. That's another reason why Florida State wants to make the jump.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, time's ticking. And I hope that in the 2024 and 2025 off seasons, and I know it's probably wishful thinking, but I'm hoping in those two, they more or less get things settled for the next 5 or 6 years. And, if that means that the P2 or however we want to call them is willing to combine, take 5 or 6 teams, let's out of the ACC. Let's just take those 5 or 6 teams. If these teams can free themselves, I just think I wish the ACC would realize what's going on, or let me rephrase that: be willing to accept what's going on. What we're hearing is that some of the lower tier ACC brands might be desiring just to stick it to the teams that are wanting to leave and try to drag this out for 2 or 3 years. I don't think it's going to be successful, because I think the one that's going to really be the catalyst for things moving forward is when North Carolina makes their pitch to leave. That's going to break Charlotte's heart. When I say Charlotte, that's the ACC headquarters. That's their baby, that's their boo. That's it. And when UNC makes it clear they want to leave, that's like a cheating spouse, you know what I mean, or a spouse that says they want a divorce, and that's the one that'll hurt them the most. Maybe not financially, but that's the one that'll hurt their heart, But we'll see. All right, well, I'm done rambling. I appreciate the time.
You got it. I appreciate it. Great phone call, sir. Thank you, JD.
Have a great night. Thank you.
Mr. Seminole. PATC, Mr. Seminole. Immaculate makes a good point. It's not about desire. It's about how their no scholarship model is going away. So they'll need some sports to be paid for by new scholarships. No schools want any of what is coming to actually come. They all have to deal with it and adapt. I still think trust funds will be separate from NIL because of Title IX. We're in for a big week, because I think we're going to find out. I hope we're going to find out how much support there is. I mean, we should get a read on it. The reporters are going to be there. We should get a read on it saying, look, there is more support to these Proposal 1, Proposal 2, NIL reform, unlimited educational benefits. We're going to find out a lot on Wednesday or Thursday. If we don't, I'll be very disappointed. But I think we are. It sounds like there's more support than I thought. Definitely, Charlie Baker's proposals are definitely not dead on arrival. There's going to be some adjustments, right? There's going to be some playing with it. But I think they really feel like they need to do something radical like this to get the courts off their backs, so to speak. I believe that at some point, for the courts to really get off, to really give legitimacy to the college football model, whatever that looks like, for the courts to give it legitimacy, at some point the student athletes are going to have to be representative by an organization, and there's going to be collective bargaining agreement. Can it stop short from there? I don't think so, but Charlie Baker's given a big time push to get it done. Greg Sankey does not want collective bargaining, does not want the players to become employees of the universities. Greg Sankey is pushing, I believe, for Charlie Baker's proposal. I think that's one of the reasons why it has more support than what I thought it was going to get right off the bat. I think SEC is pro Charlie Baker proposal. They don't want to go down the road of of student athletes becoming employees. Collective bargaining agreement. Okay. I think we're going to shut it down for tonight. We've been on the air for an hour and a half. Sunday evening, some talk. We had to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Michigan, Washington, preview and predictions. PATC Community laid it all on the line with their votes. The PATC Community voted for Washington to cover the plus 4.5 point spread, and the PATC Community went over the 55.5 over-under line. The fat man from Minnesota, Greg the Heater, I predicted under 55.5. That is the play. Under 55.5. I think it's going to be 24-17, 24-20 type of game. I don't think it's getting close to 55.5 points. We'll see what happens. Tomorrow night, join us. Watch party. PATC watch party. Half an hour before kickoff. We're going to be starting the live stream. Join us. Put down your comments and thoughts in real time during the national championship game. It's a celebration. It's a celebration. Coming to the end of the great 2023 college football season. And then we're going to be heading towards a dramatic, epic wave of change, the 2024 college football season. So hopefully you all join us. If you're new to the channel, if you liked our content tonight, please smash the like button, subscribe to our channel. We appreciate all your support in the donations, in the comments, and in the phone calls. Thank you so very much. Until next time, which is tomorrow night, buckle up. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.